WGN investigates tonight the overwhelming problem of vacant and abandoned houses in neighborhoods across Chicago. After our first story on this aired, we got a call from a homeowner in Englewood. His neighbor's boarded up house was literally crumbling into his yard, and the homeowner was nowhere to be found. So we looked into it and discovered part of why these broken down homes are such an enormous issue for the city and those left clinging to their investments in these neighborhoods.
There were families, there were a lot of kids that I grew up with on this block.
Those days are long gone.
It was a fun and clean block when I grew up here.
Joby Martin is retired now. The 67-year-old has spent his entire life right here on this street in Englewood.
I've learned how to ride a bike on this street. We played football out here in these streets. Just a lot of memories. It really is.
He met his future wife at the grocery store on the corner. But like many buildings around here, it's been torn down. How many houses on this street are vacant now? Just this block?
I want to say at least 4.
Including the house he called us about, right next door.
Yeah, I came home and saw all this had fallen, had collapsed right here. It was up to the second step.
Twice now, those bricks have piled up in his gangway. He called the city and he tried to find out who owned the home. A number he dug up through property records led him to a woman named Judith.
She said, "Oh, I don't own it." She distanced herself from it then.
You still don't know who owns it?
I still don't know.
That's when WGN Investigates got involved. But when we called that phone number, the mystery deepened. Chasing down an address here, it didn't belong to a homeowner at all. City notices and the court documents we found all lead here to this office building on the North Shore, far away from that property in Englewood. Let's head inside. Here's the office, 380. There's no one here, and the lock has been removed. Here's another entrance. The reception area is empty, a dead end. The phone number Joby had called actually led us to a title company in the same building, but on the 5th floor, where no one had ever heard of Judith. Another clue sent us here to River West. Another empty office, another locked door, another dead end. The trail did point us to someone who owned the home before Judith. West Carroll. They said it's close. Another business and no luck. But we kept digging until we eventually found Judith, far away from Englewood, living in Florida. Hi, Judith. Hi, my name is Joe Donlin. I'm with WGN TV in Chicago. How are you? Judith didn't want to be identified in our story, but did talk to us. She says she was an investor, bought the house in 2010, and renovated it twice. Both times, she says renters trashed the place. To further complicate things, she transferred the property into a land trust, which hides the identity of the owner. She knows who it is, but wouldn't tell us. She's afraid the city and county will come after the owner for back taxes and penalties. So they hide, and the property rots. Well, it's been a wild goose chase, Rob, which is why the land bank doesn't get involved in this, right?
Welcome to my world.
Rob Rose's world is addressing the problem of abandoned housing in distressed communities. He's the executive director of the Cook County Land Bank. What we didn't know when we started this process was the land bank had already moved to acquire this exact property next to Joby's home. This house has been sitting vacant and in many cases abandoned for 3 years before it shows up on your radar.
At least 3 years.
Every year, the land bank bids on homes, hoping to renovate and rejuvenate neighborhoods. Often, these are the worst of the worst. Properties no one wants, and the taxes haven't been paid for at least 3 years. The homes are dumped into what's called a scavenger sale. Even then, the land bank has to give the owner another 2.5 years to pay the taxes before it can touch the property. In some cases, that house may have been sitting there for 7 years before you get it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Which brings us back to Judith. You're in Florida, right? She could contact the owner to donate the abandoned property to the land bank. Taxes would be wiped out, and the renovation process could begin without delay. But for now, Rose can only sit and wait until 2020 to take over the property. Is this house symbolic of the challenges you face?
It is. You know, we face challenges of trying to find owners, and having them understand exactly the harm that they're doing to the neighborhoods, right?
That's a change he'd like to see the state approve. Shorten the wait time on these scavenger properties to speed up the rebuilding of these neighborhoods, realizing the delicate balance between homeowners' rights and government's overreach.
You couldn't sell your house right now, Joby, could you?
No.
Joby's home was his greatest investment, and now he's just trying to maintain it, hoping someday some change will bring his neighborhood back. But for now, this is what he and thousands of other people across Chicago are left to look at every day. Rotting homes where the owners have simply walked away.
We won't ever see the fruits of our efforts. They're gone. In my mind, they're gone. I mean, it sounds pessimistic, but that's just the way I feel.
This is just one abandoned house. There are tens of thousands of these across Chicago. It is a huge problem. Without some sort of major program, will take decades to turn around. Also, we mentioned the idea of Judith, the last homeowner we could find, donating the house. She told us, "Where do I sign?" But since our last contact, no one has come forward, so Joby is left to wait while the house next door falls down, literally brick by brick. So
very sad.
It's frustrating on a lot of levels.